All right, now we got the volume going. How you guys doing? I'm Fletch. If you don't know me yet, if you do, welcome back. I'm gonna do a quick screen share. I always like to kind of get my face in front of people when we first start, just so that folks know who I am and what I look like and all that kind of good stuff. So, we got a good crowd already showing up. It's been a little while since I did one of these. I gotta get back in the mode here. So once we're going here, I will let this the Google Hangouts streams, but there's a lag time. So what I typically do is get the video feed started here and do a volume check real quick, and then we jump into questions. So. All right, now we got the volume going. Okay, so things sound good. Oakley dokley. So quick rundown for anybody who's new in the group, particularly those from Project J. So my office hours are they're just that. They are a place where people can come and ask questions pertaining to anything really that we have going on within OMG. So it deals with not only the technical SEO aspects, but also kind of all the money getting things and strategy and planning your day or figuring out, really kind of what niche you want to go into and build a business around that kind of thing. So Greg's office hours are very much set up to handle the technical SEO things. Mike's the ones he runs the kind of money getting acceleration style videos are more presentation like, but this is a lot of back and forth. So what we typically get is not only dialogue back and forth with me, but also with the people who are on these sessions. So that's kind of where we are. Anything's fair game. Any questions you guys have are, you're more than welcome to throw those in the chat box, and I'll get to them as quickly as I can. As I said, there's usually some lag time in the video feed, but then also depending on the questions, my answers are typically not just one-liners. A lot of the questions that we get are more complicated than that. So just be patient. If you got a question in there, I will get to it as soon as I can. So from there, just, yeah, let's get rolling. So and then one of the other things that we also have the ability to do here in this, on this platform really, is we can do some demonstration as well. So if there is a question that needs to have kind of some live, demonstration with how to go through expired domains, for instance, or looking at competition or keyword research or anything like that, we can do that with the screen share. So just some other ideas. I know we got Mike Bevington's on. I saw him here. I assume that's Mike B1. Looks like the rest of our chat here is from the previous session that we had a couple weeks ago. So with this, I guess the time period that we're in currently, coming into August here, we've got my coaching sessions spread out a little bit more because we're kind of in bonus time. So I'm running today and then again in, not next week, but the week after that, the following Tuesday, I believe I'm scheduled for. So just to kind of get ahead of the curve. One of the things I did recently, this is just kind of dialogue, we sometimes, depending on who we have on and how immediate the questions start flowing, I tend to just kind of get a little more presentation style and just talk about some things. So I will get a question from Mike here. Yeah, I'm gonna jump into the membership area and just kind of go through things as a walkthrough overview for folks that may be on the first time today. All right, Mike, when I build up my PBNs, I'm looking to use Linkit Pro to boost my own SEO, my city site. Okay, do you know if this is a good platform? Linkit Pro. I don't, Mike. That's not one I'm familiar with. Linkit Pro. It's building strategies. So, looks like they got a few different things they do. Okay, so links. Got different pyramids. Aztec and Giza. Let's see what they've got here, like picture-wise. So this looks like a lot of blog comments feeding into article submissions with at least a PR1. That's good, and Web 2 blogs. More blog comments going at the second tier. Web 2s that are higher PR into Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress. So these are all, we like seeing the PR, Mike. It's not the most important thing that we look for nowadays to determine how powerful the site is, but having a PR, having a PR of 1 at least typically means the site's indexed and it has domain authority, which is more of a driving force. I know these 3 platforms have a much higher domain authority, which are good. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything in this that looks bad. For instance, I think you mentioned that you were going to use them to power your PBN. While I'm building up my PBNs, I want to use this to power that. Yeah, so that's going to be 5 Web 2. Yeah, I mean, I think that looks halfway decent. I don't see anything in that, Mike, that would be a red flag for me. Especially you're talking about building up your PBN. We always recommend doing that. It's a very safe way to build your SEO power up, and it is also the best way to learn really kind of some of the more automated stuff and what we can look at to determine what might work, what might not work, what we want to stay away from. So kind of going through this, taking all that into consideration. Something like this doesn't look bad to me, but it's also not probably our primary method that we want to use for ranking sites. So depending on your competition, you might get some good movement out of that. I don't know. It'd be great to give it a shot, though. Okay, Nancy. Fletch, you published your new training on 60-day day job killer yet. I missed that last bonus hour, so I may have missed it. Not 100% sure if it's in there yet, Nancy. I was going to kind of walk through there. I've got a bunch of videos over to David, and there are kind of some changes that we want to make so that it doesn't, I guess, stick out in its own way. It integrates better with what we've got going in the rest of the training. Because really all it is a different way to monetize a site, depending on whether you want to rank and rent or generate leads or just get paid by a client. The pay-per-lead model really is just a different way to monetize. But because of that different monetization, what it does is it lets us kind of look at things a little more differently than I think most folks kind of go in there and want to rank for the big money term, because, traffic can equal money, and going after larger search terms tends to generate more income, or at least that thought line goes that direction. With kind of what I do and what these videos will talk more about, especially with local clients and in local markets, you can get a lot of calls and income generated with very specific search terms, and getting those kind of turned over is a much, and when I say turned over, I mean the site built and getting ranked and generating some calls or some search traffic is typically a much quicker process and a much easier process than going after the big terms. So That's really what it'll be about, but we're just kind of making that work more flexibly. I just had a couple emails with David last night about that, so kind of on the way. It'll be out during the bonus sessions for Project J, leading into our regular time for that. But I haven't checked to see if they're posted yet, or if they are, they're probably going to be some more and some amendments anyway. So, all right, Mike, thanks. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and open up. Let me make sure I don't. Yeah. I'm just going to log in here to the membership area for Juggernaut. These sessions are actually open, I believe. I think this is how David was running it. These are open to all the folks that we have in Project X, as well as the new folks for Project J. So there's going to be crossover, but don't pay too much attention to whether or not you're still in X or Juggernaut or whatever. The membership area at the moment, I believe, is very, very similar. So I'm just going to kind of walk down here and see. Here's our extra coaching and support. So Greg, you sign up for Greg's office hours here. This is my page. This is where not only the information about my office hours are, but all the replays from previous office hours, and this is the 60-day Day Job Killer series. Yeah, so what is that? No, that's just a presentation. Yeah, so this is just the original ones, Nancy, looks like. I'll talk to David probably first of the week, and we'll have some more information on that coming up. There we go. All right, I'm going to click over real quick and just kind of go through my messages. Make sure there's nobody that's having difficulty getting in that I may have missed. All right, look good there. Check Facebook real quick. Doesn't look like there's any messages. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, so give me a little indication for folks that are on today. If you're with us from Project X carrying over, or Project J and you're kind of new here, that'll give me an idea of what I can. Since we're slow on questions, I always like to try to contribute as much as I can, and I'll just kind of go through some things that I find valuable, and hopefully you guys will as well. So just yeah, let me know how long you've been doing SEO, whether you're with Project J or Project X, and really what your focus is, whether it's a day job killer or affiliate launch jacking, or even some of the Amazon or Kindle product rankings. And then yeah, just kind of take some consensus, and I'll launch into kind of some live demo stuff. Sometimes that's really helpful for folks that are on these office hours, to just kind of see how somebody else does it. Not that my way is the best or even really good, but sometimes watching somebody do something is what it is really helpful. It lets us kind of see not only mindset of why I do the things I do, but also maybe It gives you some ideas of ways you can go. So yeah, Mike's on from Project X. I knew that. I've been doing SEO for local for 4 years. Okay, I didn't know that, Mike. That's good. Yeah, I noticed there's been a lot of, I guess, discussion on the disappearance of the 7-pack for maps listings in a lot of niches. I've noticed that in quite a few of mine actually too, with local contractor type keyword phrases. I think a lot of the people were talking about real estate losing a lot of the listings for the 7-pack, but it's happening in construction as well. So Google always plays with that stuff. Yeah, so SEO, local, you kind of know the routine for all that kind of thing. What you can do is, I've shared a couple sites, and I like to kind of keep it limited at that, not necessarily for anybody in the group that's, doing any, I guess, niche jacking or whatever. But sometimes, information gets out, and the last thing I want is a bunch of competition on my local sites. But I do have a few that I share with folks for local client stuff. So I've got one that's really set up for CPA. I haven't monetized it yet, but the milehighplumbing.net site is kind of one of my demonstration sites that I set up because so many people were asking about silos and the best way to do that for local terms, and also really what it looked like. And this is a site that I put together specifically to demonstrate, I guess, or address those questions. So it's plumbing niche, local contractor style thing, and you can go through this site and find, you've got your URL structure that I've used here for, the cities and then the services. These services are not super high competition, but they're numerous. So this is about I think a 270, 280 page site. I used vSilo for it all, so this is all duped content, but when it scraped the descriptions, and then also if there's comments on the videos, it grabs those as well. So it's a plugin from Network Empire folks, or ThemeZoom. I'm not sure really what they call themselves, but same company. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on there, and why this put together. This ranks really well for most of these terms. Again, I know they're not high competition, but one of the things I wanted to see was how Google would treat a site this large for a local contractor niche, and it seems to not have any problems with any of these terms. So again, no links going to it, just some social signals, and just a good demonstration site for local silos. Another site that I've got up and going is, nope, not that one. It's another site that I've got up, which is just lead generation style site for a local chiropractor who does spinal decompression, this is kind of what I talk more about in the videos that are coming out, is my approach to getting keywords handled and finding the keywords that make money, and kind of my first page domination, which is a little different than the stuff that Jimmy Kelly talks about with ranking, Twitter or SlideShare or YouTube, whatever. I actually do that, but I also will typically try to rank more than one site for the same keyword, especially when I'm doing lead generation. It tends to work pretty well. So if I had a chiropractor that was a client, I do not. I actually have kind of let this site go over to my buddy. This is actually him. But if I had a chiropractor, what I would do is rank the chiropractor site. I would rank also specific sites for keywords that I found to be profitable. So the move is to have more and more authority sites, and I think that's a tradition that will, or not a tradition, but kind of a trend or tendency that will continue to progress. But really at the same time, what Google's looking for is good content, and sometimes authority content is great because it gives you a place to go find all the answers. Other times it doesn't have enough specific information on any of the smaller things. And so what I do is try to incorporate both of those um, I guess both of those mindsets when I'm building out these local sites. So I try to have very specific information about each of the services that I offer. So you can see here, again, this is a site without any links. It's got some social activity, but that's about it. I think it's about 11 pages, and it ranks #1 for about 7 money terms that I was going after. But you can see it's just a real simple site, real easy to build up. I usually use this as a demonstration because it's something that people can put together in pretty quick order. It doesn't take a lot of work to do something like this. Again, this is not siloed. You can see the menu structure is not set up in a silo fashion. So essentially just about a 10-page, 12-page WordPress site with most of the content on the home page here. It's just a kind of a long form. It's a testimonial. I got a video embedded that I don't think has a description pointing back to the site or anything. Just some pictures and stuff. So it's unique content. Anyway, let's see if that triggered some questions here. Jump back over in the chat box. Oh, James on. Yeah, Project X is from James, working on some small local projects, but want to go into CPA. Yeah, CPA is something else that I want to be able to demonstrate with the 60-day day job killer stuff, because it's kind of it's a step toward affiliate. But I think the best way to convert with it a lot of times is still approaching it as kind of a local lead gen stuff. So that's what I do anyway. I know that you can build a site that gets 200,000-300,000 visitors a month and just go with traffic. But I actually, I have sites similar to what I just showed you there with either the Mile High Plumbing or the Spinal Decompression site that are actually set up and monetized for CPA, as opposed to being monetized through a single local contractor or service provider. So you can actually, approach it from each of those mindsets like I talked about. One of them is based on, let me go get the big term in the niche and get as much traffic as I can from that term and just kind of trade on traffic type of thing. The other is to build these smaller niche sites, even for local, and really work more on high value content and conversion. So I started there just because it was smaller and easier for me to learn when I first started out with affiliate marketing, and it turned out that it was profitable enough that that's pretty much still what I do almost exclusively. So, all right, Evan, Project X, working with a few companies in small niche, and I'm using SEO for my own stuff as well. I'd like to work on a long-term affiliate or CPA project that I can plug away at when I have some downtime. Yeah, downtime. Time management, or you can't manage time, you manage yourself, but it is, when I got into SEO, my eyes were a lot bigger than my stomach type of thing, when you order a plate of food that's way bigger than you can eat. And I think it was really good to go and be aggressively, trying to build out as much and learn as much as I could, but really finding, I like what you're saying here, Evan. The reason I'm getting into this is because you talk about, you've got kind of your stuff that you're making work right there with your small niche and the companies you're working with, and while you're doing that, you're kind of growing some other things. I think that's a great strategy, and one that when most people ask me about it, that's kind of what I recommend they do. Kind of shotgun a little bit out there and figure out kind of what works with you and what works with the market, and then from there, pick up another one of these little kind of money-getting ideas, whether it's CPA or pay-per-lead or Amazon or affiliate, and then just treat it as a project on a project-by-project basis. So, when I started, I built, I talk about in that 60-day day job killer, I built 55 sites, give or take, over the first 2 months, which is a lot. It is just kind of tedious, but what it did was it kind of laid a foundation for all the lead generation that I do. And looking at that approach, it still works. It works really well, but it's the more money sites especially that you get out there, the more you've got to keep track of. Whether it's getting hacked or just monitoring uptime or invoicing or all that other kind of thing. So just kind of some commentary on my experience with things. over the last couple of years here. Another thing I'm always kind of curious about is, for those of you who are, it sounds like a lot of you are Project X or so, you know, you're kind of into it and you understand kind of what we teach, and a lot of you even have experience previous to that in SEO. So are you guys focusing a lot more on your actual website or secondary properties, you know, like Facebook or Yelp or whatever, and getting those ranked? That's always something I'm curious about, because one of the things that I kind of have come to realize is that the more time and attention I spend, and even money that I spend on things that I own, the better off I am. It's kind of tough to sell, I guess, somebody else's product. So I'm looking at SEO, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be something that pays me for a long time coming. But I also know that at some point in time, selling my business might be something that I consider. So one of the things I'm aware of, I guess, and trying to pay as much attention to as possible, is the amount of equity that I have in the business and where that lies and what it's worth. So there's a couple people in the group that have been talking about selling websites, and I've been kind of trolling some of the sites that have a marketplace for that stuff up, and it looks like pretty much everything that sells is website itself, not, you know, LinkedIn profile or something else. So one of those things that I kind of just pay attention to. I was throwing out there for folks. Yeah, James is saying I'm trying to avoid clients as much as possible. I hear you there, James. I actually make a distinction. I think I talked about it in some of my videos, but the distinction, I guess, between a client and a customer was something that I learned about pretty early in my professional career, I suppose, which has been pretty varied. I've done a lot of different things, but I did have a company that was a consulting-based company, and while I could charge a very high dollar per hour rate, everything was customized. And so it was nice in one respect, because it kept me really invested and involved with each project, but you've got a whole lot of variables that come into play when you have a client, and they are, well, you got to manage the client, first of all, the relationship, and set your expectations up properly and all that kind of thing, but then also just all the custom stuff that each client will potentially need. So I definitely hear you on that, James. What I've tried to do for as much as possible is to, you know, take the ability to make money with local clients, I guess, with local businesses, and turn that into a commodity, really, something that you can just sell repeatedly as much as possible. And that's kind of where the leads come in. It's just a different, as I said, a different way to monetize it, but what it does is it opens up some different avenues for structuring your business as well as each of these individual deals. So. Okay, comment here, question from Evan. I'm working on ranking some TripAdvisor stuff now in hopes that it will be a good foot in the door, but mostly ranking websites. Okay, cool. Yeah, TripAdvisor was something that I can't remember who it was. It had been Mary Semmer that was looking at ranking some TripAdvisor and also questions about some Yelp from a couple weeks ago. So we ran through some, I don't know, diagnosis or research investigation on what was ranking and why on those two platforms. It looked like TripAdvisor was one that I really hadn't thought that much about, but you know, looking at the site last session, I think it was last session. Yeah, cool property. I really like it. I actually have found a lot of really neat looking blogs, like blog site style stuff, doing kind of going through and looking at some domain authority. And some of these different platforms have got really attractive, you know, interfaces. And you know, I can't help but think that the ones that not only advertise themselves well, but also kind of have a good-looking interface that's easy to understand and interact with, are going to be properties that become more and more valuable over time. So, yeah, and I think that's probably a really good strategy, especially if you're in that niche. I do a lot with travel and tourism, not really with hotels or things like that, but more like hunting and fishing lodges and things along those lines. But because of that, I've been kind of trying to think about ways to use that platform for, you know, helping build out my client stuff for that. I've been hunting and fishing lodges. Nice, yeah. I have a few fishing guides I work with, and I'm working on a few sites of my own to rank and book fishing trips. Yeah, that was actually, you know, when I talked about the different things I've done, I actually was a fishing guide in Alaska for a while, and my brother still does that, so we've got a lot of contacts and things up there. It's primarily who I work with, but yeah, it's a neat lifestyle, and it's what I like to do for fun when I have a chance. So it's in the middle of Arizona. There's not a lot of water, unfortunately, so I have to get my experience through looking at other people's vacations for the most part. But yeah, it's a good little niche. I mean, there's so many of them. You know, even with I know there's probably I don't know, 5 or 6 different OMGers that are in that niche, in different places. You know, wherever they live, they, you know, kind of work with people they know, or you know, people who they've used the service for. That's another thing that I do a lot of, is kind of barter style. So if I need something, I'll do a little more research than what most people do, which, you know, look on Google and find out who's top spot and call. What I usually do is look on Google and find somebody that's on like the 3rd page for something I'm looking for, but also that has good reviews and that, you know, seems to be a upstanding business, and that's usually who I'll contact, and then, you know, see whether or not they're interested in coming out and, you know, helping me with whatever I've got going on that I need work on, or in addition to needing some online marketing stuff. Mike, are you finding 30-day sandbox is only applying to new domains? Would a year-old site that has no linking suffer the same fate? You know what, Mike? I actually have a lot of information on that exact thing. I bought a ton of domains last year, and I didn't even get all of them hosted. So they were registered, but not even, they were not hosted. WordPress was not installed, nothing. And those sites do not seem to have any kind of sandbox issues with ranking. So, within a week, 10 days, I'm seeing not only, indexing of the site, but rankings, top 100 rankings. I use Microsite Masters to track my SERPs, and they rank the top 100 sites for, primarily what we look at is Google, but they also pay attention, or they log Bing and Yahoo, and we've got search terms to the top 10 in 30 days for keywords on a site that was purchased a year ago but only installed very recently. So doesn't seem like the sandbox issue is in effect for sites that have been purchased for a while but not installed or even indexed. So beyond that, yeah, because of that, I know that we have people that continue to jump in, and I think a lot of the information we have on those sandbox issues are from people who buy new domains and get them set up and installed pretty quickly. With older domains, it doesn't seem to be the same scenario. It looks like it may be triggered by the purchase date of the domain instead of the installation date of your CMS or your index date. All right, Nancy C., did you say that you do CPA on a local level? Could you give me an example? Yeah, Nancy. Well, so let me see what that is. So this site, this Mile High Plumbing site, there are lots of CPA offers for plumbing, for contractor-based services. If this site, if I made it look better, of course, and above this sidebar menu, put an offer to contact a plumber for, a commercial and industrial plumber in Arvada, right here, then any traffic that I had on this page that was looking for, industrial plumbing in Arvada, Colorado, would have a way to take action. So you've always got to think about your call to action, what you want the person to do who lands on your website. And one of the ways that we generate income or that action on the local level is to just put a phone number up and have them call our business, or we use call tracking software to forward those calls to a business, and we can keep track of how many phone calls come through. Well, one of the things you can do is just put a contact us form. And a lot of businesses like that because it lets them get back to the customers that have expressed an interest in a service that may or may, probably not going to be kind of an emergency thing. If somebody's looking for kitchen remodeling, that's not something that, boy, unless you talk to the person within 5 seconds, you're going to lose the client. So a lot of people will put up data form submissions and collect client information that way. And so a CPA offer is just, one more extension of that. It's a way for us as a website owner to collect information and pass it along to somebody who wants that information, wants to make money with it, but we don't have to work with local contractors to do that. So those CPA offers typically are kind of generic. They'll be specific enough that you can build a website or get some organic traffic for it, but it's not you're working for this one business in this one city. So what it does is it lets us kind of start to learn different industries. There's a few industries that I'm in that I know enough about that conversion becomes a lot easier. You know, I know the triggers and I know the things that people will see out in the marketplace that I want to be distinct from, so it's easier for me to do that type of thing. This site is not an example of it, but what I was doing is just showing you that a site like this could be set up to generate CPA, cost per action leads, which means I get paid when somebody either clicks on a link and goes to their site, or pardon me, I usually try to get mute hit before that a cough catches me, but so we get paid either when somebody clicks a link and goes to their site, or when they submit some kind of data form entry. I'm more familiar with the submission of data forms. That's something that I've got in place on quite a few of the sites that I run. It's a CPA offer. Well, yeah, it's a CPA offer. I get paid when somebody hits submit as long as they meet certain criteria. I guess I'll put it that way. And I actually was found by the guy who owns the CPA company, the guys who run it, because I had some lead gen style sites up that had a phone number that were forwarding to a local client, and you know, one of their client account managers, I guess, was doing some searches around the internet, ran into my sites, called the number, and it wound up going to a customer that they were already selling leads to. So they kind of just, you know, put the pieces together and got in touch with me eventually, and that's been a good source of income for me. But yeah, these things all really kind of work. They can work in harmony. When you've got a site ranked for keywords that are valuable to people, you know, then it becomes an issue of, you know, you usually want to start with the end in mind. You know, figure out your monetization really before you go too far into a niche, before you do too much of the building out of the site. But at the same time, if you get down that road and realize there's a better way, or that there's a different plan that you want to enact, you can change sites up. You know, you can have a site set up that you want to just rent to a client on a monthly basis, that for whatever reason, you know, 9 months from now, you may decide to just generate calls off of and get paid on that, or put a CPA offer on it. So yes, I do. That was a long answer to that, but it was kind of more to just put a lot of the pieces together on a bunch of, you know, monetization plans at the local level. So, all right, Mike, thanks for that big help. Oh, great. Thank you, thank you. James, how do I go about finding those local CPA offers? Good grief, I always forget the sites that I use. OfferVault's one I've been on. I don't know if I'm currently doing anything with them, but yeah, I spend quite a bit I have spent quite a bit of time on this site. So let me go through here and see if there's something I have some experience with that I can kind of talk about a little bit better. Yeah, so this is a kind of a competitive niche, but you know, credit monitoring is something that a lot of people are pretty interested in, especially what I found the folks that are in the generation just ahead of me are interested in, especially for whatever reason. Category baby and family debt. So debt and credit, that overall that's the industry kind of deal. So the way OfferVault works is it gives you a few distinctions on what types of traffic are allowed, because what you'll get paid depending on the different kind of account that you have set up. Some of them are prepay, some of them they have to vest and then you get paid on them. So it just depends. There's, you know, it depends on the offer, but it also depends on the kind of account you have. So one of the things that jumps out, like the allowed traffic, is incentivizable. So if you had an ebook, for instance, or you hired somebody to write an ebook for you on improving your credit score in 3 months, or something like that, you could offer that as a free ebook if they fill out this form and hit submit. So that's what incentivizable means. Some of these offers do not want that, because if you think about it as a product owner of this credit monitoring, you might want to only have people who are willing to raise their hand and say, I want this, if they're doing it without any kind of coercion. If if I paid everybody, so the lead's worth $13 here. You get paid every time a qualified customer clicks through and does this. So if I had a book that I paid ghostwriter $80 for or something like that, after, what would that be, 6 leads, I would be profitable, and after that it's just kind of gravy. So this is a good way to talk about a specific offer and what you could do potentially to start generating money with it. So what you'd want to do is go through and find this is kind of your seed keyword. I talk about seed keywords now as kind of a term just because the software that I use for keyword research is TLKT, the last keyword tool from Network Empire. And what it does, you kind of put a term in, and then it builds out the rest of related terms based on that. So, although credit monitoring is the overall term here, the actual search phrase that maybe you want to optimize for would be, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head actually right now. But it might not be credit monitoring exactly, but within your offer, so like the keyword, well, I guess I could just look. Oh, yeah, it's going to make me log in. I'm going to do that because it shows all the different programs I'm on, and I kind of need to keep that a little more secret. But so the keywords in the network that you need to have access to before you promote this offer will be available when you're signed in and stuff like this. So Offer Vault's a good one. Let me go back. I don't want to get too deep in this one. I'll just tell you the ones that I've used. I don't think I've used ClickBooth. Yeah, that doesn't look familiar. I don't think I'm on it. Yeah, Warrior Forum's got a bunch of weird and nonsensical posts and things, but sometimes you'll find a good thread that's got good information on it. AFPaying, that's the one I can never remember this for some reason. So AFPaying, AFFPAYING, is the one where I find most of the offers on that I have. I actually came across this. It was the affiliate network that Jimmy Kelly dropped for the people who attended OMG Live last year. I had not, to that time, gone out and signed up for any outside CPA networks. At the time, I was generating money from CPA from the company that contacted me, but I had not gone through the process of doing any of this. This is a cool site, though, because let me see if I can find one that I might. Yeah, some of these are just generic, but what it lets you do. AppHang, this is a bunch of different networks, all right? So these guys offer CPA, CPL, which is cost per lead. So that's somebody who has to qualify for something, and then CPS is cost per submission, I think. So Action, you can actually get paid just on a click. So if somebody clicks and goes to a site, you can get paid CPA-wise that way. CPS requires them to actually do something and fill something in. So yeah, they pay percentage, and they'll do PayPal, which is good. They've got their own proprietary platform for tracking your stuff. Yeah, that's the code for the links. You've got affiliate managers listed here. The thing I do is always come down to these affiliate reviews and see, what's going on here. You guys know how to read reviews. Sometimes they're just seeded and they can't be reliable. But like if you click on this user, where do I do that? Yeah, so this guy, he's actually got a picture. It's the first thing. I look for. Yeah, so they got screenshots, some testimonial type style things. Yeah, CJ Commission Junction is a big one. It's kind of like ClickBank, but it also offers CPA offers. I think there's some CPA offers on ClickBank too. I'm not sure, but these are networks that tend to have a lot of different types of products. They're not just info products. These may be generating leads for a call center. They may be generating leads for, yeah, they may be generating leads for local businesses. They may be generating leads for all sorts of things. And then one of the other things that you want to look for or just be aware of, that a lot of, like when you join Neverblue will have a lot of different types of products. So you don't, like each of these is not a product that you're going to just promote one thing on. They would be, potentially would have hundreds and hundreds of different offers that each of them have. But if you want to find specific, like if you're looking for, sometimes these will, if you've got specific search terms that you're looking for offers on, sometimes if you drop that in the search phrase, it'll pull it up. This is a sponsored link, so likely that search phrase did not return anything that was of value. But that's kind of how those work. App paying and, oh, good grief. My brain seems to have a complete block on remembering these. Offer Vault are the two that I really use the most. I've been on Commission Junction before. I don't think I publish anything for them right now, but they're another big kind of wheel in that industry. So, all right. So that was James. How do I find those offers on CPA? And the other thing is, James, that and this is for everybody, but you got to kind of dig around. Some of those networks are just kind of junky and they're just knockoffs of somebody else. But when you find the good ones, they're good. I don't really keep track of a lot of the specific promotions that I'm doing in CPA outside of maybe 2 or 3. Those 2 or 3 really, they generate well. They pay on time. They don't seem to be hard to convert. And those are just kind of the good clients that you stick with, just like it would be in local consulting. Sometimes you get a good client, sometimes not so much. Okay. Nancy C, thanks for the info on CPA. Where do I find the info on the sandbox in Project X? So the sandbox, Nancy, is the term that's been kind of given to a situation where if you send links to a site that's new, Google will say, all right, yep, we found that link. We're going to put it in this sandbox for a month before we let it have an impact on the rankings. So we know it's there. Everything looks good. We know what we're going to do with it later, but we're not going to do that yet. So a lot of people are talking about that because they're sending links from their PBN that they know are getting indexed, that are getting picked up, but it's not having really the effect on their ranking that they assumed it would have. And one of the reasons Google might be doing that is just because with SEOs, we like that feedback. We like having a really short feedback loop, and when we're watching sites and building links, if we don't see movement, we might continue to build links and do things more and more aggressively, which would help Google find people who are aggressively doing SEO, kind of their spam, what they call spam. So that might be the reason they're doing that. As far as specific information on that, that would be in Greg's territory. I don't know whether he has talked about it specifically on any of his coaching webinars, but as far as I know, we don't have videos on it. It's just a concept, I guess, or a finding that a lot of people, members of OMG, have been talking about in the Facebook group. That's where I heard about it. If I'm unaware of some content that we've put out, that could be possible, but as far as I know, we don't have specific information on that sandbox. It's more just kind of like a, oh well, it takes longer to rank now. It's the same kind of deal. It's just that we don't have that feedback that we normally have, which again is nice because Greg has enough of a track record to know what's working, and he just gives a little longer to publish kind of the new information on what the updates, the algorithm updates are doing. All right, James, whoops, where did we go here? All right. I've had a few domains for a while and have form niche city. Okay. Would you ever use a domain like that for multiple cities, like niche city, other city? Or just start over with a more generic domain? You know, I don't think you're going to have a problem ranking, James, just because, you know, like looking at this, right? So Mile High, this is a search term, right? It's not necessarily a city, but it's a term. If this was denverplumbing.net or Vada, those still rank. I've got some other sites set up that way specifically, but I like doing this and having kind of a brand in the domain name now. It lets me be a little more aggressive with my linking and do a little more specifics on these inner pages with search terms I want to go after. So if you've got the city name here and the city name here, you can't repeat it more than twice in the URL string. It gets way too over aggressive for optimization. And so what you're talking about, not just in theory, it works for ranking, but what you want to think about is not only ranking but conversion. So if it's a new domain you really haven't done anything with yet, it might be worth spending $11 on just to get something that's a little more relevant to that geographic area, or that's branded, that you could then just put, you know, whatever cities you wanted. If you wanted Denver and Houston and Dallas and Baltimore and Philadelphia and Seattle as all different cities you wanted to try to rank for, you could do that with inner pages if you had a branded site. It wouldn't look weird. Whereas if you had, you know, like spinal decompression Phoenix / Houston chiropractor, that might look a little weird unless you turned that name, that city name, into a brand. So, you know, Phoenix kind of works that way just because it's something that has a meaning outside of just the city name. You know, Phoenix is a bird, and people brand themselves with the Phoenix and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my thought on that. What you might want to do with it, especially if it's not a built-out site. But if this site is something you've already spent some time on and got domain authority to and all that other kind of thing, I would look at it, because again, Google tends to, and this may change over time, but Google tends to rank URLs and not entire websites. So you can have a page rank, and we all know this, but having it said explicitly sometimes helps us understand it. Google ranks URLs. So Google ranks pages, not an entire site. So as long as the site that you've got doesn't have a bunch of weird links that conflict with what Google thinks that page is about, you can send links to an inner page that may be kind of unrelated to the topic of the rest of the site and still have it rank. I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing that, but knowing that you can do that kind of frees you up in understanding what it is we're doing as far as the links that we generate. You know, links across a bunch of different inner pages help us build domain authority. That's one of the reasons it helps us rank. But outside of that domain authority boost, we don't get a lot of inherent ranking factors on a single inner page on a site from links to other inner pages, unless those links are then linking back to the page that we're trying to actually rank. So it's kind of a circuitous explanation of all that stuff, but that's the kind of the concept that comment really is kind of getting at, is how related do those inner pages need to be to the overall site to rank? And the answer is not really. It just really depends on how your site's set up and what your linking structure looks like and all that kind of thing. If you do something like that, James, I would definitely recommend using silos, because what that will do is let you isolate this other city term and have it not conflict or be conflicted by any of the other inner pages you build for like other city 2, other city 3, other city 4. Those can all be their own independent silos, and because of that, we'll only have really links going to and from themselves, which will be more relevant to Google. So I guess that's kind of what I was getting at there. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a really good question, though, that actually let me kind of talk about that concept a little more. And it's one that we really don't hammer on a lot, but I find it was really helpful for me when I started understanding that. So we're about an hour in now. We're usually slated for, hour and a half, depending on what's shaking. Last session we had, tons of questions, and I don't even know how many people we had on the session, but we wound up kind of rocking and rolling for a couple hours. Just depends on the day, how long we go. So if you guys have questions, get them in that the chat box. If we get too slow, I'll just go ahead and wrap up and let you guys get back to your Saturdays. Yeah, that's the last question I see in here, so it's 14 minutes old. Which is no big deal. Like I said, I'm just here for you guys, but at the same time, I'm not going to just drag this out for the sake of being online. I can let you guys get back to your SEO, and I can do the same thing. But if there are other questions or walkthroughs that people want to investigate, today, I'd get those in the chat box, and we'll jump on those. So. Absolutely, Brian. I'm just scrolling through here to make sure I didn't miss something. Yeah, as you guys watch the video, if you could, if you can tell I missed one of your questions or comments, feel free to just bring that back up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, Evan. I appreciate the office hours. Let me know when the OMG fishing trip to Alaska is. I will definitely do that, Evan. I actually got to go up there was it last month? Yeah, last month for about a week, which was really nice. Got to see my family. My brother and his wife and their twins are up there. My mom's up there right now. So, yeah, we went out Prince William Sound fishing for halibut and some other things, which was nice. But yeah, if we get anything formal together, I'll definitely let you know. James says, Fletch, my brain's a little foggy Saturday morning. Really appreciate your time in these bonus sessions. Absolutely, James. Yeah, I know how that can be. Sometimes I've got to, really shake the dust off a little bit to get my brain firing on all cylinders. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap things up then. Really appreciate everybody's time. Again, I always say, these sessions are really where we want to focus our questions. We really try to, protect the people that we have working kind of really within OMG, whether it's Mike, Greg, or David. But I also say that, you know, sometimes these sessions are not, you know, the best place to share, you know, kind of privileged information. You know, if you've got a specific website and you've got something going on wonky with it, and you need or would like, you know, a question answered about a specific thing like that, and you don't want to share it publicly. You know, everybody here, I hope, has access to me on Facebook. If you don't, just find me and friend me, and send me a message that way. It's usually the easiest for me to keep track of those messages as opposed to emails. But my email address is in the OMG Project X or Project Juggernaut membership area as well. So if there's something that needs to be emailed, you can get a hold of me there. And I tend to answer pretty much any of the questions about the program itself. Again, I certainly don't own it. I'm not one of the founders. You know, I work in this capacity, and it's really limited to that. But I'm also kind of a resource. So if anybody's got some questions about things like that, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today. Thanks again. Enjoy your Saturdays. My next session, I'll look on here because this is where my schedule's posted. So today's the 26th. I've got another session scheduled for Tuesday the 5th. And that's going to be later in the day, 7 p.m. Eastern, which is 4 p.m. Pacific. I'm in Arizona, so we're on Pacific time this time of year. So other than that, guys, we'll see you next time, or in the Facebook group, or wherever it might be. Take care, God bless, and we'll see y'all soon.